International Business, Masters of Commerce, second semester, Mangalore University, session 22. Managing Global Business Risk. In this session, you are going to learn about the EXIM policy. Learning objective to discuss about the concept of first, second and third phase of foreign trade policies. Session outcome, the students are able to understand the features and objectives and critically evaluate the foreign trade policy of the pre and post reform period. The foreign trade policies in the pre-reform period, that is phase 1 and phase 2. So following can be considered as the areas of major focus of the foreign trade policies in the pre-reform era. So what are those major areas? The first one is the import substitution. So India entered into planned development era in the year 1950s. So during that time, import substitution was a major element of India's trade and for industrial policy. In 1950, India's share in the total world trade was 1.78%, which reduced to 0.6% in 1995. Import substitution was thrust upon to protect and promote the indigenous industries. Second is a simplification of import licensing. The very first committee to review and recommend the import-export policy and procedures in India was the P.C. Alexander Committee, which was in the year 1978. This committee recommended the simplification of the import licensing procedure and provided a framework involving a shift in the emphasis from control to development. Next is the export promotion. So under the export-oriented units in the year 1981, several export-oriented units were set up. So these were set up to offer the benefits to the export houses in order to boost the country's exports. Additionally, the Export and Import Bank of India, that is the EXIM Bank, was set up in the year 1982. This bank subsequently took over the operations in the international financing in the IDBI. The next is focus on exports as catalyst for growth. In the trade policy of 1985 to 1988, some measures were taken based upon the recommendations of the Abid Hussain Committee that took place in the year 1984. This committee envisaged growth-led exports rather than export-led growth. The recommendation of this committee stressed upon the need for harmonizing the foreign trade policies with other domestic policies. Additionally, the committee recommended announcement of foreign trade policies for longer terms. Some of the other features of the pre-reformed foreign trade policy included the following. The first is financial assistance to the exporters, simplifications of the procedural formalities. Third, minimizing of the role of quantitative restrictions and reducing the tariff rate substantially. Fourth is import liberalization, and fifth is setting up of export processing zones to push up the exports, which is now known as SEZ, that is Special Economic Zones. The next is trade policies in the reform period, which can be told as a phase 3, that is post 1990s. So there are certain features of the FTPs post reform period, which are the following. The first is freer imports and exports. Substantial simplification and liberalization was carried out in the reform period. So during this period, the tariff line-wise import policy was first announced on March 31st, 1996. Subsequently, 6,161 tariff lines were made free. Also, in line with India's commitment to the WTO, quantitative restrictions on all import items were withdrawn. The second is rationalization of tariff structure. Acting on the recommendations of the Chennai Committee, 1991, the government over the years reduced the maximum rate of duty. So more specifically, the budget of 1993-1994 reduced it from 110% to 85%. The successive budgets reduced it further in stage by stage. The peak custom duty on non-agricultural goods with effect from 1st March 2007 was also reduced to only 10%. The third is decanalization. Earlier, public sector agencies used to canalize a large number of exports and imports in India. The supplementary trade policy announced on August 13, 1991 reviewed these canalized items and decanalized 16 export items and 20 import items. In 1992 to 1997 of the foreign trade policy decanalized the imports of a number of items including newsprint, non-ferrous metals, natural rubber, intermediates and raw materials for fertilizers. However, 8 products that are petroleum products, fertilizers, edible oil, cereals, etc. remain in the canalized list. Further, the exempt policy of 2001 to 2002 put 6 items, that is rice, wheat, maize, petrol, diesel and urea in the special list. Special list items were put under the special list. As a result, the imports of these items began to be allowed only through the state trading agencies. The next is devaluation and convertibility of rupee on current account. The government made a new two-step depreciation adjustment of 18 to 19% in the exchange rate of the rupee on July 1st and July 3rd, 1991. This in turn was followed by the introduction of liberal exchange rate mechanisms, that is partial currency convertibility in the year 1992 to 1993. And further, full convertibility of the trade account in 1993 to 1994 and full current account currency convertibility in August 1994. Since then, substantial capital account liberalization measures have been announced. Currently, the exchange rate of the rupee is market determined. Thus, exchange rate policy in India has evolved from the rupee being pegged to a market-related system since March 1993. The RBI, however, intervenes to check against the speculative activities and to check excess volatility. The current exchange rate policy is therefore known as managed floating policy. It has been repeated. Next is trading houses. In 1991, policy allowed the export houses and the trading houses to import a wide range of items. The government also permitted the setting up of trading houses with 51% foreign equity for the purpose of promoting exports. The 1994 to 1995 policy introduced a new category of trading houses called the superstar trading houses. These houses were entitled to various benefits that included membership of apex consultative bodies concerned with the trade policy and promotion, representation in important business delegations, special permission for the overseas trading and special import license at the enhanced rate. The third supplementary foreign trade policy, that is from the year 2004 to 2009, divided the export houses into 5 classes, namely export house, star export house, trading house, star trading house and premium trading house. I'll repeat. The third supplementary foreign trade policy divided the export houses into 5 classes. So they are export house 1, second is star export house, third is trading house, fourth star trading house and fifth is a premium trading house. This stature was given to the exporters on reaching the export limits of rupees 20, 100, 500, 2,500 and 10,000 crores respectively. These export houses were and continue to be granted a variety of export benefits by the government. Special economic zones. The Government of India in Export and Import Policy of March 31st, 2000 announced the setting of special economic zones in the country to promote exports out of the country. As a corollary to this, the CEZ were to provide an internationally competitive and hassle-free environment for exports and are expected to give a boost to the country's export. Some of the distinct features of these CEZ scheme are a designated duty-free enclave to be treated as a foreign territory for trade operations and duties and tariffs. Second, exemption from routine examination of export and import cargo by customs. Third, full duty sale in domestic market. Fourth, duty-free goods to be utilized within a period of 5 years. Sixth, permission to subcontract. Fifth one, permission to subcontracting production process for all sectors. Sixth, 100% FDI through automatic route in the manufacturing sector. Seven, 100% income tax exemption for 5 years and 50% for 2 years. Thereafter, 50% of the plowed back profit for the next 3 years. Eighth one, permission for the external commercial borrowing through automatic route. So these were some of the features of CEZ. Next is the Export Oriented Unit Scheme. The scheme has been aiming to provide the export units wide options in locations for sourcing of raw materials, ports of export, hinterland facilities, availability of technological skills, existence of an industrial base, and the need for a larger area of land for the project. The EOUs have although put up their own infrastructure. Next is agricultural export zones. In order to give primacy to promotion of agricultural exports, the EXIM policy of 2001 introduced the concept of Agra export zones. These zones were set to effect a recognition of export efforts on the basis of specific products and geographical areas. The focus of the scheme was to provide for a cluster approach for identification of the potential products, the region of their growth, and adoption of an end-to-end approach of integration of the entire production process. These zones were to have the state-of-the-art services such as a pre-post harvest treatment and operations, plant protection systems, and research and development for the processing, packaging, storage functions. Next is Market Access Initiative Scheme. The Market Access Initiative Scheme was launched in the year 2001 to 2002. It was introduced for the purpose of undertaking marketing promotion efforts abroad. The scheme attempted to provide in-depth market studies for select products in chosen countries to generate data for promotion of exports from India. It also helped to assist in promotion of Indian exports and Indian brands in the international market by display through showrooms and warehouses set up in rental premises, by identified exporters, display in identified leading departmental stores, exhibitions, trade fairs, etc. Next is focus on service exports. The amended export-import policy of 2002 to 2007, announced on March 31st, 2003, specifically emphasized on the exports of services as an engine of growth. Accordingly, it announced a number of measures for the promotion of export of services. For instance, under this scheme, import of consumables, office and professional equipment, spares and furniture was allowed up to 10% of the average foreign exchange export. Last is concessions and exemptions. A large number of tax benefits and exemptions were granted during the 1990s to liberalize imports and promote the exports. The policy, thus EXIM policy of 1992-97 and EXIM policy 97 to 2002, served as the basis for such concessions. These policies in turn were reviewed and modified on an annual basis in the EXIM policies announced every year. Successive annual union budgets also extended a number of tax benefits and exemptions to the exporters. These included reduction in the peak rate of customs duty to 15%, significant reduction in duty rates for critical inputs for the information technology sector, grant of concessions for building infrastructure by way of 10 years tax holiday to the developers of cells, etc. Additionally, a number of tax benefits were also announced for the three integral parts of the convergence revolution: the information technology sector, the telecommunication sector, and the entertainment industry. The critical evaluation of the trade policies in the reform period. With the sweeping process of liberalization, the new trade policy brought about paradigm shifts in the trade openness of the country. The openness, however, changed the orientation from being inward to outward. Whilst the export business of the country thrived on one hand, reductions in the import duty hampered the indigenous industries to quite an extent. This reduces the relative importance of the home market. The new trade policy can therefore be critiqued on the following grounds. First is decline in relative importance to home market. The policy of liberalization attempted to reduce the import duties. This in turn lessened the degree of protection to the Indian industries. For a developing country like India, sustained industrialization is important and should be sustained through internal industrialization. An appropriate strategy should attempt to strike a balance between import substitution and export promotion. The new trade policy, while managed to give a tremendous boost to the exports of the country, it however failed to protect the internal industries. The second is failure to inadequate adoption of technology. It has been argued that the market structure and the policy structure are still not able to provide the necessary environment for the absorption of imported technology. Such technologies should try to augment the pace of development of the indigenous industries. The government has, however, failed to strategize and provide a policy regime for the same. The next section aims to discuss individually the 5-year composite exim policies of the country, introduced in and after the year 2002, the period marking shift in the orientation of the exim policies from import liberalization to export promotion.